Hello, this is Magnus here, and today I want to talk about the 6D Mark II, and a camera that technically hasn't been officially announced by Canon, but I would expect that it would be released in 2017, as most people would. And I want to talk about just the specs and what I think is going to be featured in the 6D Mark II when it is announced and then, of course, released. Now, the 6D, when it was released, it was considered the most affordable entry-level full-frame Canon offering, which was a huge plus, to have that type of option available. So the 6D was definitely a camera to look out for. Kind of a step down from the 5D Mark III. The 6D Mark II would be technically a step down from the 5D Mark IV. Now, before I go on, I want to first hit upon the topic that I had in last week's video where I was talking about memory cards, and I was pretty taken back by this particular SD card when recording 4K footage. Now, when I was doing the video, it did not stop recording, and I did a couple of additional tests, and it actually worked great when it came to recording continuous 4K footage. Now, upon further tests, just as I mentioned in that video, it is not reliable. In fact, what I consider it is that it needs a bit of a warm-up, I would say, before it can continuously record 4K footage. Now, last week, I hit that record button, and it was just recording consistently. Now, if I hit this record button now, it'll record consistently, but first I'd have to change the features on the camera to say, record from SD card. So I'll just do that real quick. Rely on the SD card. And now I hit the record button with this card. And because I have not been using it for a while, it hits the buffer pretty quickly. So like I said, sometimes after I record on the card for a couple of times, then eventually it stops hitting that buffer and then it continues. So it's almost like a warm-up. Again, it's not a card that I could rely on continuously, unfortunately. But enough with that. Let's talk about the 6D Mark II anticipated features when compared to the 5D Mark IV. Okay, first, 5D Mark IV had a Digit 6 Plus image processor. And I believe that the 6D Mark II, when it comes out, will continue to have the same processor, just like the 6D had the same processor of the 5D Mark III. 5D Mark IV had over 30 megapixel image processor. But I don't believe that the 6D Mark II will have the same 30 megapixels. I believe it'll probably be chopped down to about 28 megapixels, specifically because it's a step down from the 5D Mark IV, just like the 6D was a step down from the 5D Mark III when it comes to image resolution. ISO range will be 100 to 32,000, expandable from 50 to 102,400, just like the 5D Mark IV. Storage capacity. Now, the storage capacity from the 5D Mark III and, of course, the 5D Mark IV had a dual card slot, one CF and one SD card slot. Now, the 6D itself only has one SD card slot. Now, this SD card slot will be upgraded to an UHS 2 card slot. So it'll be UHS 2, and I believe they want to do that to improve the speed and say, hey, this is a better card slot than what we had previously. But it's not going to be a CF card slot found at all. It will only be a single SD card slot on the 6D Mark II. I believe it'll also include GPS, Wi-Fi, NFC. I believe they'll also throw in the dual pixel RAW that was made in a 5D Mark IV. They want to push that dual pixel RAW file format, and then, of course, their own proprietary Canon software. And I think they want to continue to emphasize the ability of using dual pixel RAW, although most photographers, from what I've seen, which include myself specifically because I do video, but even photos that I take, I never turn that feature on. Moving on, when you're recording on this 6D Mark II, you'll have live view autofocus. Now, you're going to have that dual pixel autofocus that was made famous on the 80D and the 5D Mark IV. So this 6D Mark II will also have that autofocus during video, which will be a really good thing. It's brought huge usability towards actual videos when recording videos. So I think they'll bring that on to the 6D Mark II as well. Autofocus points, you're going to have 11 autofocus points, and there'll be one cross type in the center, just like the 6D had. But I believe they're just going to spread out those 11 autofocus types a bit more. And again, keep it one cross type in the center while you have it just spread out. Take more of the field of view, but still only 11. Again, this is not meant to be better than the 5D Mark IV, so it's not going to have as many, but they'll be spread out enough to where it still has usability. You can take, on the 5D Mark IV, you can take 7 frames per second shots. I believe the 6D Mark II will be able to do about 5.5 frames per second. The original 6D could do 4.5 frames per second shots, and they're going to improve that by about 1 frame per second. So it's going to be about 5.5 frames per second. The LCD will be a 3-inch touchscreen, down from the 3.3-inch touchscreen of the 5D Mark IV. And yeah, but yes, it will be touchscreen, just like the 5D Mark IVs. I do believe that they're going to want to emphasize the ability that a touchscreen comes in handy, and they'll continue to show that on the 6D. But unlike some of the other Canon models, and similar to the 5D Mark IV, it will not be an articulating screen. They're going to keep that screen in the actual camera body. I know that that's a bit frustrating because the usability of having a flip out screen is real important, but again, they're going to keep it so that you don't have that articulating screen, and we're just going to have to deal with it using what I anticipate will be a common feature, which was here. They're going to have the NFC, and of course connecting via Wi-Fi through your phone, so they're going to say you could use that if you want. So again, touch screen, which is 3 inches, and no ability to articulate your screen. I believe that's what's going to happen. There will be a mic jack, similar to the original 6D, but there won't be a headphone jack. I believe they're just going to keep it just a mic jack. You don't need a headphone jack. Why would you need a headphone jack? That's within their thoughts. Plus, it keeps the cost down, specifically because, again, this is their entry-level full-frame DSLR, so they're just going to keep it a mic jack. If you want to see what the audio looks like, you can look at the screen and see what your audio levels are. No headphone jack. You will also have 97% viewfinder coverage when you're looking at the viewfinder. So 97%, you won't have 100% like you get in the 5D Mark IV. That I know. One of the main video features that was upgraded in the 5D Mark IV was the ability to shoot 4K. 4K on the 6D Mark II, I believe, will be a 1.7 times crop, just like the 5D Mark IV. So you're still going to get a crop of the full frame. I believe you will get to shoot 30 frames per second in Cinema 4K, which is 17:9, and that's about it. Basically, you're going to get the same 500 megabits per second MJPEG codec on the 6D Mark II. So you're still going to have that frustration, but quality at the same time. So you'll get a similar quality that you do get from the 5D Mark IV. However, because of the single card slot, that is one of the reasons why they upgraded the card slot to UHS 2 from previous UHS 1. So it will be a faster SD card slot than you do get from the 5D Mark IV. And that will give you the ability, of course, to record 4K on the 6D Mark II. Those are the features that I believe will be in this Canon 6D Mark II. Let me know what other features that you think will get upgraded. Of course, I didn't go through every detail of the camera, but those are just some of the anticipated features that I think will be in the Canon 6D Mark II. Those assumptions, of course, are based off of the fact that the 5D Mark III was very similar to the Canon 6D. A couple of tweaks, a couple of upgrades, and of course, many downgrades. From a camera body perspective, I believe the button layout will be similar. You won't have the touch control stick here. You will have a touchscreen. You'll have a somewhat of a thumb pad here with a set button in the middle. Play, zoom in button here might or might not be there because you could just pinch to zoom. But I believe they'll still leave that in there. Menu info buttons here on the side. Similar drive and ISO and autofocus buttons on the top that you see here. One, of course, spin wheel with all your mode settings. But similar button layout. The layout will pretty much look just like this. I do believe that the camera itself will be lighter. The fact that you'll save maybe a couple of grams off of the 5D Mark IV when comparing it to that camera. So it will be a lot lighter. That'll be a plus, so it's easier to carry around. And that's about it. So What are your thoughts? What do you think that the 6D Mark II will have? What features are important to you? Do you disagree with me? Let me know. Comments below. I always appreciate everyone's comments as always. So, anything you want to say, let me know. I'll try my best to respond to what everyone writes. Like, share, do what you gotta do. In any case, you could make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out, as usual. Take care. And of course, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Black Friday as well. See you later.